All right, what is going on? We are back finally with some more educational content, and this time we're going to be talking about how to team build using weather teams specifically. So, if you guys missed it, I made this video, one of my earlier videos back in May 2025, about teaching you how to build Scarlet and Violet overused teams with a checklist and all that stuff, very general team building stuff. So if you want to watch that first, make sure to check that out and then come back to this video because we're going to be expanding on the list and talking about it in the context of weather specifically. All right, like I said, we have a bunch of different weather teams, and basically how this is going to go is we're going to be talking about some already known and respected weather teams, and then we're going to be talking about how to build our own weather team and what kind of things we can look forward to on a checklist on things to approach. So weather is a very interesting concept in Pokemon. It very much leans you towards a very specific team structure dependent on the weather you're using. We have the weathers of rain, of course. With Pelipper, we have Ninetales for Sun, Torkoal for Sun, and then we have Tyranitar for, hold on. And then we have Tyranitar, obviously, for Sand. So the thing is with Hail, Hail exists for Ninetales to do like Aurora Veil shenanigans. It's not really intended for an actual like Slush Rush spam or something like that. Like you'll see a Ninetales and you'll see it click one move only, two moves actually with Encore. You'll never see any of these Slush Rush guys because they're just not that good, and there's not that many of them. Like there's only Titan as a viable option. Sandslash is okay. Beartic, Joey and I did a video on that. It was like kind of cool, but they're just too niche, and they're also ice typing, which means you have to worry about a lot more in terms of just being countered and lacking defensive utility. But yeah, that's why we're talking about these three core weather structures. This core has been the predominant type in the history of like competitive mons. These three weather specifically. There was a time in Gen 8 where Hail with Arctozolt was really good. If Arctozolt was in SV, absolutely Hail was being used. Let me just get that clear right now. Imagine Terra Electric Volbeat OHKOing every single thing you have, blizzarding the Great Tusk, like that's without a doubt. But we live in a world without those guys, so we are just going to have to stick to the normal weathers. All right, so to kind of refresh the checklist, we have Stealth Rock Spikes, Hazard Control in the form of Boot Spam or Defog or Magic Bounce or anything like that. Let me actually add Magic Bounce here. We have Speed Control, so your Scarfers, your Zamazenta, Darkrai, Dragapult, booster energies from like Valiant and stuff. Then you have your Ground and Moon, your Flying, your Levitators, your Balloons, your Fairy Resist, your Status Absorbers, things like Toxic and Wisp, so you don't get 6-0'd by like Petrunt, don't get 6-0'd by like Goldingo clicking Thunderwave, Bolters clicking Will-O-Wisp. Then you have your anti-offense or anti-bullshit mons, as I call them. This can be a random slither of Pokemon. Is that a right way to say it? I don't know. Tinglu, things like that. Roar Moltres, even like Dondozo as like an anti-offense guy. Your Kingambit counter, because you cannot afford to be 6-0'd by Kingambit. Your Wogerpon counter for the same reason. Your Zamazenta counter for the exact same reason. And then I would say Ghost type for most teams that rely on stacking hazards. Definitely need one to spin block. Context dependent knockoff switch-ins, spin block, like I said, and a knocker yourself if you're relying on hazards. You can't just lose to a boot spam team because you have no way to remove their boots. But yeah, like I said, very general checklist, and we're going to actually see right now how weather kind of defies the checklist. It has a very specific way of doing its thing, and sometimes that involves just ignoring everything on this list. For example, let's start off with rain. Rain is actually what I would consider one of the worst weathers out of the three. Like this one you will hardly see in tournaments or in like high ladder pro play because it's just not that consistent, and because it can run into the other weathers and kind of get smoked by them too. And Chili Glow King, of course. We can never forget Glow King being the absolute death to rain. But let's open this team up. So this is a team used in World Cup of Pokemon. I actually showcased this on my channel way back. Basically, it has Pelipper with the weather, the drizzle, damp rock, U-turn to maximize the amount of times you can bring in your threats. Mystic Water Barraskewda, not going for the choice band. And this is where you can check off the speed control on the list. Barraskewda is an incredibly fast Pokemon. It hits that 371 speed. I guess it's kind of cut off a little bit, but I'll just be talking anyways. 371 speed in Swift Swim. That's literally 742 speed, faster than everything in the game. faster than things, dragon dancing twice most of the time too. This guy is an absolute menace, and he is your speed control. He's going to be your way to stop those dragon dancers sometimes, your way to stop Deoxys speed, Zamazentas from like blowing up your team. Very, very strong Pokemon. Next up, we have Raging Bolt. This is more meant to be a tanky guy that can trade and benefit from the weather through spamming Weather Ball. Weather Ball is a move that you'll see, I guess, decently often with all these, weather teams going around. But it doubles its power depending on, it doubles its power in weather, and depending on the weather, it gets a boost from it. So rain and sun obviously give a boost to water and fire respectively. So Weather Ball is used for that kind of role. This is kind of your anti-bullshit mon, because being Terra Fairy and super tanky with 125 base HP, it means it trades a lot into offense. You can Terra it to get out of a lot of bad positions versus like a Great Tusk versus a Kingambit even. Like imagine Terra Fairying on a Sucker Punch, Weather Balling for like 80% because you have that insane power boost. It's kind of your anti go-to guy for a lot of those Pokemon. Tornadus is just the breaker. Spec Spam Hurricane, 110 power move, just do your thing. It's also a form of speed control because it's faster than Ogerpon, faster than Cinderace, faster than Enamorus, Therian, even though those guys are with Scarf, yada yada. And then Ogerpon again as another breaker. This guy is also ridiculously strong in the weather, especially rain. Ivy Cudgel is already a ridiculous move with high crit rate, and then it gets a Giga boost. And then you have Iron Treads to fulfill that role of Spinner, Hazard Control. And also it's a ground type / electric type. Or sorry, it's a ground type which is immune to electric type, which, obviously water is weak to. It's also a steel type, so it's your fairy resist. And it can get both rocks and can spin and can knock things off. So very useful guy, and that's why he was used on this team. So if you look at the checklist, we're actually missing quite a lot here. We're missing a dedicated status absorber for things like Toxic and Will-O-Wisp. Iron Treads is just switching, but it can't switch into Moltres, can't switch into Dragapult, things like that. So you actually are going to find yourself with this kind of team going to Pelipper to pivot. So you absorb the Toxic or the Wisp with Pelipper, and then you get Rain up, your Drizzle, and then you U-turn out. And that's kind of the way Rain is going to deal with status like that. So it's not going to have like a direct hard counter to any status, but its way of dealing with it is just you turning out and bringing in a strong guy to defeat the status mon anyways. Zamazenta counter, it's something like Terra Raging Bull on this team. You have the Terra Fairy versus an IDEF Zama, which you will beat easily in a 1v1. Also, Torn is able to trade into a Zama as well, depending if it's not Stone Edge. So you could see this team was used in tournament and was used to high success on the ladder as well in my video. But it has so many weaknesses to a bunch of these things that I'm talking about. Kingambit counter, like, yeah. Raging Bolt is the Kingambit counter. Like, or it's a combination of Raging Bolt, Thunderclap stat, or Thunderclap priority, plus Barraskewda, Aqua Jet priority. These are your ways of beating Kingambit down, because it can't really set up on any of these Pokemon if you look at it. Weather Ball from Pelipper is going to do a clean like 40%, maybe more. Barraskewda is threatening close combat and also is going to do like 80 with Liquidation, probably Okos with Terra Water Liquidation. Can't set up on Bolt. Can kind of set up on Torn. You can Swords Dance on Hurricane and then Sucker Punch. Can set up on Ogerpon that's low maybe, but not in Rain, definitely not. And then obviously can't really set up on Treads that well. So you're forcing a Terra out of Kingambit, and that's kind of your way to deal with it. You can knock it off, you can do a lot of damage initially, and then double priority, Thunderclap, Aqua Jet, finish it off. And you're also playing the mind games too, because you get it low enough with one of your other Pokemon, you can just Weather Ball straight up, and they probably won't Sucker Punch expecting your priority move from one of these guys. So it's a very interesting way of playing Pokemon, and you ignore a lot of things on like a very typical team checklist, but that's kind of how it is. Like, and for the context dependent ones, you don't have a spin blocker because your goal isn't to care about Great Tusk ever. You're going to scare it out with every mon theoretically, and just going to apply a lot of pressure that way. You also have Pelipper, which is one of the best Great Tusk answers in the game, so you're not really worried about spin blocking ever. Treads is really just utility. Like, it'll die pretty soon, you'll let it go pretty soon. Its goal is really just to get in there, get the hazards off for your Torn, for your Pelipper, get rocks up maybe, and then perish, essentially. But yeah, this is a pretty, I wouldn't say a standard Rain build, but it's just a way of showing that things on the checklist don't always apply to weather. And we're going to make our own weather checklist actually very soon. All right, so I've revamped the list a little bit, as you can see, and we're about to go over every single thing. And we're going to talk about why things are on the checklist, and then we're going to try to build a rain team from scratch. So, to be on a weather team, weather checklist, number one thing you need is obviously a weather abuser, something to take advantage of the weather. Otherwise, you're just running, I mean, you could just be running Specs Caliper, Specs Torkoal with Trick Room or something like that, or Choice Band T-Tar, which is fine, but we're talking about weather here. We're not talking about using those Pokemon independently. So really important, so I kind of ordered these a little bit by priority, and we're also going to be deleting a lot of the things that I don't think are that necessary. So speed control, extremely important. Extremely important. This would be Walking Wake. This would be like Barracuda. This would be like Drill. These three specific Pokemon that just take the weather, and they are your way to revenge kill things. They are your way to revenge kill Zamazenta, especially. They're your way to revenge kill Dragonites with Terra Blast, Scarf Enamorses, Booster Iron Crowns, Booster Mods, Booster Valence, etc., etc. Ways to deal with all those Giga Threat Pokemon, because without having this kind of speed, they can just set up on a weather Pokemon and then you just have no way to deal with it unless you have priority, which is another aspect here. The next one, you have to make sure to pressure Glowking. Glowking is going to change the weather with chilly reception and ruin your day in some matchups. So you're going to need to do this, and we're going to talk about how we're going to do that with each type of weather. But ways include things like Raging Bolt on Sun, things like Walking Wake on Sun, do a lot of damage to these Glowkings, force a Terra Water, and then have some kind of way to take advantage of that, such as Venusaur in the back, or, like I said, Raging Bolt. Ways to pressure Glowking are so important for weather, because otherwise you're not going to be able to play with your weather at all. That thing is going to chilly reception, troll your whole team, troll your whole life. You're going to be really sad. You're going to be like, why didn't I just bring Garg, Goldango, Ting-Lu, or something like that? First thing we're going to get rid of is ground immune. I mean, most teams end up having one because flying types in general are very good, such as Dragonite, such as, I don't know, like Moltres, things like that, Zapdos, things like that. So you're probably going to have one, but it's not actually a necessity. And let me explain why. There are some Sun teams that run Great Tusk, not Torkoal, Ninetales, and then 3 to 4 other sweepers slash threats that take advantage of Sun. They don't have a ground immune. They use Great Tusk to pivot. They use Hat to pivot. And all the ground types get smoked by Walking Wake. They get smoked by Venusaur, things like that. Next up, we're going to get rid of Poison or Steelmon slash Fairy Resist. A lot of the weathers have built-in ways to deal with the offensive fairy types like Valiant and Enamorus. For example, Sun, naturally resists fairy type with a fire typing. Sand has like Excadrill has like usually a steel type or a fire type already. Like the how do I explain it? It's like these are Pokemon that already fit into the mold of the team. You don't need to go out of your way to add one specifically because it's just gonna happen. You're just gonna be like, okay, this Pokemon is really helping me out. I'm just gonna add it. Like no Sun team needs to have a Poison or Steelmon, although it is really helpful to get rid of the toxic spikes. But sometimes you can just ignore it. Sometimes you can just offense them, or sometimes a toxic, or that's not a toxic type, a poison type will just end up on your team anyways, like Iron Moth on Sun, for example. Sometimes these things happen naturally, but they're not as a result of a checklist of wanting to counter everything, is what I'm trying to say. We also don't need a dedicated status absorber. Our status absorber is killing everything with the boost of our powered sun and rain and stuff like that. So we don't actually need this. Although I would say sand needs this. Maybe sand, because sand is more of a bulkier style. There's no hyper offense with sand, while there's hyper offense with sun and rain. So, we'll put an asterisk there. We'll be like, yeah, okay, fine for sand. Anti-offense or anti-bullshit, you always need this. And this is directly related to Kingambit down here. Can't just get swept by Kingambit ever, no matter what playstyle you're using. Every single playstyle has to beat Kingambit. And let that sink in your head every time you're building a team. You have to be able to beat Kingambit with the Swords Dance. Otherwise, bad things will happen. Stealth Arcs or Spikes, This isn't always necessary, but it does help Sun a lot because breaking things like sturdy and sashes allow your choice specs, choice band sweepers to just click, click, click without having a care in the world. If they were running into like a Ogerpon Cornerstone or something like that, you'll have to think twice about just clicking instantly because you'll just have to trade into it and then force it out. But having hazards does circumvent that. So I would just say Stealth Rocks is necessary. I don't think spikes are ever worth clicking on weather besides sun or besides sand, I mean, because sand plays a longer game. Sun and rain don't really care about that. They just want rocks up to break the sash. All they need. The residual damage helps with some rolls too, so it's fine. Hazard control. So this would be rapid spin, defog, magic bounce. A lot of weather teams will use Hatterene. On the other hand, Sand has access to the best spinner for Sand, obviously, like not in general. Excadrill. Defog isn't really used. I would actually get rid of Defog. Like it's really, really unnecessary for these hazard teams because they always have some kind of spinner or they run Hatterene. They have some kind of way. Like Sun has Great Tusk. Rain doesn't really have much. That's why you see treads a lot on Rains. Like it's a very common Pokemon on Rain. But that's fine. And boot spam, not gonna happen. No, we're not nerfing our choice specs, choice band guys with boots. Hell no. And then I guess offense is a way to pressure hazard. So Key counter, like I said, always gotta have one of those. Ogerpon counter is actually not needed. Like if you look at it, like yeah, okay, sure. On Sun, Ogerpon has halved stab every single time. You probably have a Venusaur or a Dragon type that can deal with Ogerpon. That's fine. Don't need to worry about it. On Rain, Ogerpon is going to click a bunch of moves into you, but you can't really do anything about it. Think about the fact that you're giving Ogerpon 1.5 times boost in the Rain, so you're going to have to just deal with it, out offense it, use Pelipper as a pivot sometimes. Maybe if you have your own Ogerpon, you scare them out of clicking Ivy Cudgel for free, but kind of just going to have to deal with it. Zamazenta counter, 100%. This is like the most important thing, actually. I'm actually going to move this to the top. Zamazenta has swept so many weather teams, especially Sun and Rain. You know what? I guess Sand doesn't really count as a weather if it's just Excadrill and T-Tar, right? I'll figure this out as it goes because I'm just feeling passionate. But Zamazenta has swept so many teams because it's just so hard to deal with. It's always going to eat one of your hits from Walking Wake. It's always going to eat one of your hits from Barraskewda with the +1 defense, even more if it's +2 defense. It will sweep you if you don't have a way of dealing with it. Luckily, you can Terra your Walking Wake to deal with it. Luckily, you can have like Terra Fairy Raging Bolt to deal with it. It's tough. It's tough. Zamazenta is just that guy into weather, and he's one of the best ways to deal with and pressure weather, especially because the Hatterenes that are used on these teams don't get a lot of time to survive. They're really just meant to bounce yourself out, set up a weather, switch Hatterene in, eject out, bring in your Pokemon, maybe get a Healing Wish later, although it's pretty uncommon to be able to do that. Next up, we have Kyurem counter. This is actually what I would consider the next most important thing too. I mean, not really, actually. You know what? I just changed my mind on the spot because you can out-offense Kyurem. Like, look at this team, for example. This team is absolutely 6-0'd by Kyurem. You know what they do to deal with it? Stay in. Torn. Sorry, buddy. You're going to trade 80% of your HP to land a Specs Hurricane on Kyurem so we can deal with it with Raging Bolt, so Ogerpon can OHKO with Ivy Cudgel, so Barraskewda can deal with it. Raging Bolt. Oh, you're going to Terra Fairy just to deal with the Kyurem so the rest of the team doesn't have to deal with it later. Oh, Iron Treads. Thank you for sacrificing your life with your Spadef Invest to get some damage on Kyurem so Torn and Ogerpon can finish it off. You know, it is really important. You don't want to just be straight up 6-0'd, but you can't help it sometimes. Like, how are you going to fit a Kyurem counter onto Rain without compromising the rest of your team or your offenses? Like, it's really, really difficult, but if you can do it, it's a luxury. It's not an absolute necessity, but I will keep it in there just because it is important to keep a mind out for. Ghost type, not necessary. We're not stacking spikes. Yeah, sure, we're spinning, but that's not, it's not that important. And then context dependent knock switch in. I mean, not really. We don't care about knock. We don't care about spin block. Like I said, ghost type. Knocker, it's like always important, but no, we don't need it here. This is going to be our checklist for weather as we start this video, and then we're going to go on from there and then see how it adapts. All right, so let's go ahead and start building our first team for weather rain. So first we pick an abuser, something that takes advantage of the weather. So this could be Weather Ball, and then we can see the whole list of Weather Ball Pokemon, or you could just start off by just typing in water and seeing what water types can really take advantage of weather. So right off the bat, I'm just thinking I want to use Ogerpon on rain. I want to click Ivy Cudgels all the time and just destroy people with this. And then something else I would consider is like, okay, so how do I enable Ogerpon the most? Like, what are Pokemon that threaten Ogerpon out? Looks like Cinderace, looks like Dragonite, maybe a Deoxys or a Darkrai, and then maybe a Kyurem. So maybe I want to add Trailblaze. So if I click Trailblaze first, then I can spam Ivy Cudgels in the rain without having any care in the world. Definitely possible. And then we're going to think about the rest of our team as well. So if we go through the checklist, we want some kind of speed control or priority. So if you type in Swift Swim, obviously the ability that boosts 2 times your speed in the rain, you can look at all the different Swift Swim Pokemon. So it could be Basculegion, it could be Barraskewda. Barraskewda is the stronger Pokemon, but obviously Basculegion has access to a move called Wave Crash. And I'm kind of curious about using Wave Crash, like maybe it's ridiculously strong. But then I'm thinking, okay, Wave Crash is stronger than Liquidation. However, this thing can't really threaten out Ogerpon that well, right? Because our other Ghost Stab is locked behind Phantom Force, which is not a real move. So maybe I'm like, okay, you know what? We're gonna keep Barraskewda. We're gonna stick with it, and we're gonna see how that goes. We're gonna add Close Combat. We're gonna add Flip Turn, and then we're gonna add Terra Fighting to snipe those Ogerpons perhaps, and then we can just spam Liquidation for the rest of the game. I don't know. You build really loosely. Next up, we're going to think of how do we want to maximize the rain turns. So this would be momentum. Did I include that as one of the things? Okay, let's add that. So momentum includes eject buttons, U-turn, or volt switch. How are we bringing rain guys in if they have a Pokemon that threatens Pelipper out? So you know what? Fuck it. Let's try Hatterene. Let's just make this guy eject button, and then we're going to see how that goes, see if Hatterene is able to maximize our offensive capabilities, and then we probably want some kind of way to pressure Glowking. The way we can do that is we can make Pelipper knock, and then it can start really annoying Glowking, or we could just aggressively double to things like Ogerpon and Barraskewda on the Glowking, and then just annoy it that way, or something that really annoys Glowking, Iron Treads. Iron Treads is a very common rain staple because of this, because you can just get leftovers every time Glowking is in, because it's not going to be able to flamethrower you in the rain for any damage. You can just bring this guy in, have hazard control, have rapid spin, or sorry, have hazard control and have hazards all in one, like I mentioned before. So right now we have momentum, we have speed, speed plus abuser, we have hazard control, and now we have to start thinking about the other things. Okay, Kyurem, not Kyurem, Kingambit obviously 6-0s this team straight up. Like let's be honest. Look at this team. How do we deal with Kingambit? I'm actually gonna try Zamazenta on this rain. And I think it looks pretty nice, like visually. Like I look at a team like this and I'm like, you know what, this team could win some games. And Zamazenta is able to counter Kingambit, which is really important for us. At least force a Terra. And then we can run like Encore on Ogerpon or something like that, or Aqua Jet on Barraskewda to finish it off. But we're going to go with this, and then we're going to go through the checklist. So we have everything we need. Anti-setup sweeper, it could be Roar Zamazenta. Barraskewda is also an anti-setup sweeper because it's so fast all the time. Dedicated status absorber is just our Pelipper essentially, but we don't need it because that's a sand thing. We have momentum with Hat, we have momentum with Pelipper. We don't have a Kyurem counter necessarily, but we have pivots and we can run something like Superpower Ogerpon to snipe a Kyurem. That could be really cool. But yeah, I'm going to fill out the rest of this team and then we're going to keep talking and maybe get a game. All right, this is going to be the final product we're going to try out. So essentially, We're going max defense Pelipper because this is going to be our Ogerpon switch in pivot on Ogerpon. Pelipper has a pretty decent defense stat with 328, so it's not too bad. We're going to U-turn Hurricane to threaten Ogerpon, and then obviously Weather Ball is just really, really strong. 150 power in the rain. Actually, it's technically 225, right? Because there's rain and stab. I think that's how it works. But yeah, our main abuser is going to be Ogerpon Wellspring. We're going to add superpower actually for some kind of anti-Ogerpon, or not anti-Ogerpon, anti-Kyurem tech. Superpower should always Oko Kyurem with 0 bulk with adamant superpower. Trailblaze so we can take our speed, and then just spam cudgels. Play rough so we can deal with the dragon types. Barraskewda Choice Band just to maximize the power. Close combat to snipe Ogerpon. Flip turn Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet needed for King Gambit, and then liquidation. Speed control, just really strong breaking, weather abuser kind of guy, and also momentum. Barraskewda really checks a lot of boxes for this. But I just had a random vision of what I want to try, but we'll see in a second. Okay, momentum, Hatterene. This is also our hazard control in a way, because nobody's going to rock into a Hatterene for free. That means we can lead Pelipper, eject out with Hatterene for relative ease, and then just troll a lot with Nuzzle, Healing Wish our guy back up, etc., etc. Iron Treads is going to be our rocker, also our steel type, which isn't completely necessary, but like I said, sometimes it just fits very well on your team. Knockoff Rapid Spin Earthquake, pretty much the same set as what I showed before. And then we're going to have Zamazenta as our anti-bullshit guy, and also anti-Zapdos, because Zapdos is really scary versus Rain if they're Terra Grass or something like that, or Terra Water. So we're actually going to run a set that's meant to 6-0 Zapdos teams that take advantage of Zamazenta by doing the reverse with Terra, basically. Max speed so we can roar opposing Zamazentas if we really, really need to. And then just a random assortment of HP and bulk, because I'm not really thinking too hard about the Zamazenta specifically. All right, we're actually going to try something pretty crazy here. We're going to use the female Basculegion, which I have no idea how this is gonna go truly, but the goal is we just spam surfs and we can counter Zamazenta by outplaying them, going to this on body press. Surf is gonna do a more billion damage to them. Ogerpon will be our main physical abuser. Basculegion will be our main special abuser. Let's give it a shot. And if we run through the checklist, we have everything except for Kyurem counter really, but we have a pivot on momentum pivot, and Treads can kind of deal with it, handle it a little bit. But yeah, we have everything else on the checklist, so let's get a game and find out. All right, and I'm realizing with the length of this video already, I might make this a rain only video, and then another day we're gonna run sun, and then another day we're gonna run sand, and then maybe we'll give hail a shot at the very, very end if we're feeling it. Sorry for the barking. Sister's dog is kind of crazy. I don't know if you can hear that, but I hope not. But yeah, first game we run into, I would actually consider a pretty terrible matchup, to be completely honest. They have a Zapdos, they have Rillaboom, and they have a way to change our weather. Definitely not ideal, but it's just something we're going to have to make do with. Based on lead, they could lead Tyranitar because they get a free choice band, or no, it's boots, right? They get a free Stone Edge on us. They could also lead Rillaboom because it counters like an Ogerpon or a Basculegion lead. You could also lead Garchomp to apply hazards, but I really think it's actually just going to be Zapdos lead. Zapdos applies a gigaton amount of pressure to us, but I'm okay with that if we can lead Pelipper into Zapdos and then just go Iron Treads. Like, instead of wasting our eject button right now, I think just going Iron Treads is fine. And now if they bring in something like Garchomp, we can now use our eject button, and then we can bring in our Specs Basculegion. I think actually hit him with an Ice Beam. I think Rillaboom is a pretty obvious pivot right now. Surely they don't go gold like a madman, right? But I think Rillaboom is a super obvious pivot. Oh, but Surf is just so strong. It might does it Oko Rillaboom? Oh, sorry, let me fix the dimensions. It's always something I mess up. All right, let me calc something real quick. If Basculegion choice specs in rain, not adaptability, modest, in rain with Terra Water can Oko Rillaboom. We're just gonna rip it. I'm gonna be completely honest. We're just gonna rip it. Surf. Wait. Oh, that's not rain. Okay, Surf doesn't unfortunately. So I think we're just gonna Ice Beam instead. Oh my god, it's beautiful. We catch the Rillaboom. How much does this do? Oh, just Okos. That's their water resist gone. And this is one of the most respected SVOU teams ever made by ZabGB. We're about to show them the pain of rain. Okay, that was corny as fuck. I'm so sorry for that. Okay, now the threat is in though. The question is, do we want to treads or do we want to hat sack? Hat sack can let him get up hazards, which I don't love. We could also just hard Ogerpon. Yeah, I'm realizing we could actually just hard Ogerpon. We should. Okay, well. Okay, well. Dude, why? Why? That was a good pivot, bro. Fuck. Okay, it's fine. It's just Pelipper. Alright, let's just Pelipper and... I mean, Stone Edge doesn't Oko us. Let's just U-turn, I guess. I think we win with Zamazenta / Basculegion, so we could just U-turn. Oh, man. Ogerpon was actually such a good pivot, I noticed, but unfortunately, it doesn't work. We could also just Terra, and we might Oko everything now. Let's see if we Oko Bulky Gold. We do. Okay, let's just Terra Surf then. Pretty much everything should die. If he brings T-Tar back in, he's forced to Terra himself on T-Tar. Which I don't mind. Okay, goodbye Garchomp. Now we can sack Hat. And now what does he do? Does he bring T-Tar back in? Okay, we could just rip another Surf right now. That's gone. Oh my god, that's just gone. It's just over. It's just over. Oh my god. That's crazy. That's just over. Zapdos is Terra Fire, I believe. I think we sack Pelipper and it's just over. Let's see though. He might Heat Wave here on some try-hard shit. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's just treads. Why not? And we can knock this off. Like, we might as well play it safe in case it's like randomly Terra Grass Zapdos. We don't have to overcommit our Pelipper and just sack it for good. Now we can knock off whatever he does. Okay. And now we sack Hat. Heavy Slam, nice play. Now we bring in the Legion. And we just Surf, blow something up. If Zapdos comes in and Terra Grasses, a Volt Switch won't Oko us then. Volt Switch will never Oko us actually. Unless it's unless it's max special attack, but then it wouldn't be Terra Grass. Their team's way of handling Ogerpon is through Chomp plus Rilla or defensive gold. Could be Terra Water Gold. I guess we should respect Terra Water Gold. We can just go Treads though, like Treads hard walls this guy. Tries, okay, so it wasn't gonna live anyways. We can just go ahead and knock. We can just knock and then get up rocks. If they go Zapdos, then the Zapdos is taking extra damage. Okay, so that's definitely offensive Zapdos. Let's just get our rocks up now. And then let's sack Pelipper. Wow, that Ice Beam play we made with Basculegion actually won us the game. You know, Barraskewda couldn't do what Basculegion just did. I'm going to be completely honest. Barraskewda could never. Well, I guess you could Choice Band, jab the Rilla, but then they could just pivot to Garchomp on your thing. Requires a play. This is U-turn here. Doesn't matter. Bring in the Liege. Click Surf. Gone. This thing took out all 6 Pokemon. That's crazy. That's super crazy. All right, that was an amazing game. Because we're just going to turn this into a rain video, let's go for another game. Okay, we have Storm Zone for our final game. Unfortunately, he's bringing every single threat under the sun that you could think of. It's going to be a really tough one, I'll be real. And our Swift Swim guy doesn't outspeed Iron Moth, is what I'm realizing. Shit. Maybe Besky Legion is not it. But we'll try our best, of course. Let's just lead Pelipper. Let's get our rain up ASAP. He brings in Curum. Giga Threat, like I said. Let's just go... Let's just use our pivot with Hat right now. See what he does. Oh, it's actually Dragon Dance. That's even worse. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's hard Zama. Hope he doesn't attack right now and try to roar him. Okay. I think we should be able to roar this. Assuming we don't get 5 hit or crit. Okay. Terra expended is kind of a big deal, but is it good enough? I'm not sure. We'll find out. Alright. Let's just go back to Hat here. He goes back to Kieran, but I'm going to hard switch my Legion on this. And Legion will always outspeed. I think he might have messed up. Oh, unless Scale Shot Oko's us with a crit. Okay. We can just Ice Beam, I think. Because Ogerpon might be the pivot. Okay, we sniped the Ogerpon. That is a big deal, but is it enough? Lord knows. Lord knows. Our team has taken a ridiculous amount of damage from this Kyurem, and it's going to continue to, in fact. Okay, now Valiant is in. I think we sack Zama? Oh, we're so weak to Gambit now, though. I think we lose the Gambit. Alright, let's go Treads here. Let's hope he's special. Okay, Shadow Ball clicked is really good. Oh, no, he gets the drop. We just have to Earthquake. Okay, he goes for that. I think we just lose to Gambit. I think we're really too weak to Gambit. Okay. Let's bring in Pelipper again. Yeah, I don't know how we stop Gambit from beating us. We have to get a... Oh, it's 50-50 with Zama low-key. Because he has to sucker on Press. Press will always Oko him now that Terra's gone. This is going to be an intense one. Trailblaze Ogerpon looks really good. If we can get rid of that Moth somehow. Let's see. Alright, that's Pelipper. That's Hat. On the Psycho boost. Legion should always outspeed that. Now we can click Surf. Okay. King Gambit has to come in now. Kind of down to just Surf again in case he chokes, but he doesn't. Can we Healing Wish our Hat? Is that ever possible? Wait. Wait, we have Superpower Ogerpon. I didn't even think about that. Wait a second. Okay, but this thing is a threat. I think we have to sack Zama. And then Terra... Oh, we're so cooked. Okay. Oh, I think we had to stay in with Ogerpon. Maybe we trolled. Okay, let me think. Wait. We can Terra Pelipper. Does that even do anything? Oh, we had to stay in with Ogerpon and then Terra Hat Healing Wish or Zama, I think. I think we might have fumbled this. This is such a hard matchup. Hold on. Can Psychic Noise ever knock this out? He can with the max, absolute max roll. Dude, I think we fumbled this, but these kind of matchups where you have to be perfect are so tough. Absolute max roll with hat or Terra Pelipper. Fuck it. I don't think the roll is gonna work. Like we have to do this and pray. That does so much damage. Good lord, that does a lot of damage. Alright. He subs again. We have to sack hat here and hope he doesn't boost, I guess. Oh, he gets the boost. It's over. Well, he could miss scale shot. He can definitely miss scale shot. Wait, sub again? If he subs again... Oh. He could definitely miss scale shot. Ah. God. Okay, I think we definitely misplayed. We had the Terra Healing Wish, but that was like genuinely an impossible matchup. I think we only got it because we got the Ogerpon play, but damn. That was really, really tough. Alright, well, that's going to conclude this video. We made a checklist. We made a Rain team that's honestly decent. And I mean, you do have to outplay some things, but that's Rain. Rain is not a consistent style. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And we will be back soon for the Sun video, which will be number 2. Make sure to take care. And I'll see you soon. Peace.